Let's all admit it, in theory we only need one guitar to cover every genre, and that is a Telecaster. In fact, I'm gonna argue that I can cover rock, blues, and even metal with this vintage style 52 butterscotch Telecaster. So let's start with rock. Here's the first clip. What's up everybody, Joey coming to you from sunny Berlin, Germany. If you like what you just heard, you should consider subscribing because that's the kind of music I do all the time on this channel. So playing rock music with the Telecaster is actually pretty straightforward, no surprises here. However, there are a couple things we need to consider when we dial in a tone for a rock song. Because with the Telecaster, things can get out of hand pretty quickly, especially with the vintage voiced kinda bridge pickup, which I would assume most of you guys have on your tellies. And why is that a challenge? Because that bridge pickup can really get brittle when you turn up the gain on your amp or pedal. Now, to get close to the tone that you just heard in the clip, you actually need to consider getting something that counteracts the brightness of that telly. So if you're an amp player, you could for instance plug it into a darker sounding amp. This is all very subjective, but to my ears, darker sounding amps are like Bogner's, Friedman's, Diesels. Think of the frequency spectrum that you're covering, right? And the telly is a very bright guitar. If you pair that with a bright sounding amp, danger zone. So for a high gain tone and a bright guitar, use a darker sounding amp or a darker sounding pedal and you'll be just fine. Because if you get the right balance between your guitar pickup and the amp, this thing sounds amazing for rock music. It's raunchy, it's aggressive, the attack is always there. The twang of the bridge pickup gives you all the definition that you need to cut through a mix. It's perfect for rock music. So in that regard, I guess the case is clear. Telly works really well with rock music. Next up, let's use it for blues. Here's an example. Completely different sound, right? To me that definitely didn't sound like the same guitar, but it is. We just used its strengths differently. I used a Fender style amp and it was actually dialed in pretty clean. And then there's two variables that can make for a great blues sound. One, the neck pickup of your guitar. Again, this is obviously subjective, but for my taste and what I like to hear, a glassy sounding neck pickup is important. And by glassy, I probably mean something stratty. I'm not a Strat player by any means, but it's hard to argue that the neck pickup sound of a Strat is amazing. However, there's another variable that comes into play here. It's important to get an overdrive that is natural sounding and actually not too colored. Because what happens when you use an overdrive that is too colorful, it takes away that tele character that we all love so much. And for the example you just heard, I used this. This is a brown Carbon X. It's basically a blues breaker circuit, but it's a double pedal, so you can stack two blues breakers into each other. Why is this perfect for blues? Because it's a natural, transparent sounding overdrive. It just increases the level a little bit, it feels like, and you get that natural kind of overdrive edge or breakup kind of sound that you just heard. It doesn't take away from the tele characteristics, and you can always hear the wood, the strings, the guitar. It's just perfect for low gain kind of sounds. Obviously you don't have to use that, this is just what I use. There's a million transparent sounding overdrives out there, so you can use what you please, y'all. So now for my last example, a Telecaster for metal. You're probably most intrigued by that because a tele? A vintage tele and metal? That's a stretch, right? But it's actually not. Because with the right combination, this can sound pretty killer. Here's your metal example. Did you notice how it didn't sound like a traditional country guitar anymore? How do we make this sound nasty without losing the character and the twang of the tele? What works for me is using a pedal that does parallel distortion. This is a JHS Moonshine, and what parallel distortion is basically pretty simple. You have a clean knob on your overdrive pedal, and you can dial back in the clean sound that you have without the pedal. Meaning it kind of splits the signal in an overdrive signal and a twangy, clean kind of signal. And both of these signals actually coexist very peacefully together, making it sound like it's super distorted but having a lot of definition from the clean portion of the signal. And with that, a Telecaster sounds absolutely nasty. So there you have it. I just proved it to you. You can use a vintage Telecaster and make it sound like pretty much anything. Now don't come at me with the comments like, but Joey, can you play reggae with this? Yes, of course you can. Clean guitar sound, good timing, works. Hip hop? Yes. Classical music? Not sure. Anyway, I hope you got something out of this video. I hope this inspired you to grab your Telecaster now and play whatever genre you feel like on it. You don't need another guitar, you can do everything with your Telecaster. As always, I've been Joey, and I see you in the next.